Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, because I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
Yeah.
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.
Oh, it's just disappeared.
Hello everyone, welcome to Truth Proof, and Sunday's soon come around. I hope you've all had a good weekend. I've not had a bad one myself, so looking forward to tonight and talking to tonight's guest, and I'm sure you're all going to be really interested in what this man's got to share. I'll not say too much until we bring him on, but apologies for Thursday night's live stream, because I did say I weren't going to do one, but then I got lots and lots of messages asking me, and I ended up talking to Gemma, who was doing the moderating, my daughter, and she said, well, why don't you just go live now? So I blamed Gemma, and that's what I did. So yeah, it were okay, and obviously it was at least going live were better than doing nothing at all. That's all I can say. But yeah, great to see you all, and let's have a look. We're going on for 150 people in chat here, so that's absolutely amazing. Thanks for support, guys. And let's have a look. Sue Bargent, Sober Carper, nicknames, Steve Wiseman, Dragonborn, Gavin Still Crazy. Thanks for having a look at that audio, Gavin. I've got some to send to Al Durham as well. Let's have a look. Nickname, we've done that. Ian Langton, good to see you, Ian. And Tim Stoker, Radio Stew. If I don't get questions from everybody, Karen Behrman, please forgive me, because there's only me firing these questions out and it scrolls up pretty quick. Pete Masters, good to see you, Pete, and I'll no doubt we'll have a nattering week. Tetramania, Derek Tyler, great to see you, Derek, honestly, and what an amazing guy. If anybody wants to find out the real deep, darker side of ufology and what's happening, contact Derek Tyler. I'm sure he'll not mind me saying that, because the guy's knowledge, as far as I'm concerned, is up there with the best in the world. So look, Chris James, good to see you, Chris. Martin Abbas, Dazza, nickname, and I'm going to have to stop. Welsh Rebel, I say it and then I do carry on, don't I? Andrew Wild, Jojo. So let's just stop and let's bring our guest in, Mark Thompson. Hello, Mark, and good to see you.
Hi, how you doing?
All good, mate. And what time is it in your part of the world?
6:04 a.m.
6:04 a.m. And Mark's in New Zealand, so he's got up special for us just to share a few stories of his own, of really strange and interesting life. Because we've been talking for quite a bit now, Mark, and it's become interesting, hasn't it? The things it's opened up. And so before we get into some of these accounts, and I'll just briefly say, and then I'll stop. Mark's the guy that gave me the incredible Green Man encounter. So some of you in the chat will already remember. But just tell us a little bit about Mark Thompson.
Well, I was born in Yorkshire. Parents are from Yorkshire, and we moved down when I was about 6 months, a year old, and grew up just outside London in High Wycombe. But then when I was 18, we moved back up to Yorkshire and went to a place called Cherry Burton. It's a really nice part of the world. Spent 2 years there, and then moved to Driffield. So your neck of the woods.
Absolutely. 15 miles away. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I went to Manchester and did an electronics course, telecommunications, and that sort of opened my world up to traveling heaps.
But the world of the strange and the unusual it's paralleled you throughout your life, I think, hasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, I've always had strange stuff, always.
So where I'd like you, if you would, I mean, you can jump anywhere you like with this, because our listeners, our people in chat, they're a great bunch, and no doubt fire some questions at Mark, please, capital letters. But seeing as we're talking about East Yorkshire, tell us about a place which is literally 12 miles from my home, Caton, year 2000-ish. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it was a weekend because I used to work away during the week. I used to go up to Scotland or wherever the company sent me, and I was washing the car, and our house, there's a road that runs parallel to the cars. So if you look out, you can see the cars, and if you look to the right, you can see Staxon, the RAF base.
Let me just stop you, because I have to do this every time. Explain to people what the cars are, because some people will be thinking that the cars.
Oh, yeah. So it's an old word for it's like an old lake.
Yeah.
So around that area, the Danes settled. So a lot of the words, like Hummonby, they end in by, which is a settlement. So Hummonby is the settlement of the hunters
Mm.
that were brought in to get rid of all the wolves.
Yeah.
Because they were overrun by wolves, so they had to get rid of them. So the cars, that whole car area that runs, it's a good, 8 mile, I
Yeah.
think, and it runs east to west. So that was the old lake in prehistoric times. So then you got the big, where Staxton is, you got the wolds there. So it sort of banks up, and then you got that hill that
Yeah,
runs
that's
up.
right. You've got like this. It's kind of a glacial valley, isn't it? Is it
Yeah.
Paleolithic? We're going back to
Yeah.
ancient times, 8 to 12,000 years, aren't we, when this were formed?
Yeah. But they're always finding stuff there, eh? They found a chariot there, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And a few
And they used
miles
to
away,
bury
Mark, they
stuff.
found the Falkton drums, the stone drums.
Yeah, and they were buried in like a ritualistic manner. That someone had passed away who was, nobility, and they buried all their artifacts.
Yeah.
And they're still finding stuff now. But this, the cars, so that ran parallel with the road. So when we looked out, we were looking across fields, and I was washing the car, and there was no noise, but I looked, and what got my attention was the garage door was bulging. It was a real weird effect. But then when I looked, the glass was doing the same. It was like it. It was like as if it was like it was waving,
Distorted.
distorted. Yeah. And then when I looked up, this craft just went shooting across. There was no sound. And at first I thought, that'd be a sonic boom, but there was no boom or sound or anything. So that was so weird.
What did it look like,
when
Mark? What did it
it
look
was, but it had a streak. So if you, like a comet, you got the streak behind it,
like?
or the whatever it was. I don't know if it was clouds. It was cutting through clouds, but it was a clear day, with the odd cloud. And I don't know whether it was hot or it was leaving a heat trace behind it, but the object itself it went faster than a jet. It was, because we used to have, like, remember in the Cold War days, we used to have the A-10s and jets from, I think it was, there was a base up in North Yorkshire.
Yeah, there's
And they
Fylingdales,
used to
isn't
take
there?
off. Yeah, that was with the golf balls. That was
Yeah.
the early warning system. But I think it was Leeton. I can't remember the name of the base, but a lot of the American aircraft used to go up from there. And in Cherry Burton, you used to see the A-10s come round really low. Really, I mean, like you could see the colour of their eyes. You know what I mean? That was how low they were. So I was used to jets and used to seeing aircraft, especially in High Wycombe. But this thing was so fast.
Yeah,
It was a lot
but
faster than a jet.
the strange thing there though is what you described, that you can see some kind of distorting effect. Is obviously this has been just before it's gone over with the garage door and the glass in the window.
Yeah,
How,
yeah.
how,
It was like a shimmer. It wasn't shimmering, but it was like waving, as if it was like some a sound. I never felt anything
no,
physically, but it was running east to west along the
yeah.
cars. It was east to
So
west.
did you look out onto the old RAF base as well? Could you see that, Aristaston Wold?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I can just picture where you are. I don't know what this question is. We'll just put this up. No, that's Zeno. Uh, we'll do it now. We will. Let's have a look. Hey, Mark, do you think the phenomena stays with you, stroke follows you once you have experienced it? And if so, has it followed you to New Zealand?
I would say it follows me. It hasn't been as I think because I've struggled financially in New Zealand, and it's affected me, mentally.
Mm,
And I had a bit of a blowout, and it seemed to abate.
mm,
It sort of left me. And it's picked up now, but I know what sober carp is on about, because it it has followed me, and that I think that will come to the cases as we go through the what we talked about earlier.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
do think it follows me. Yeah, I
Do you
do
think
think
then?
there's a sorry.
Do you think then that there's some kind of awakening within a person when they do get touched by the phenomena? Is it the phenomena that follows them, or is it just Mark or Paul or people in chat that become aware of its reality, and therefore we're more open to receiving it?
I think when you do get, like, I think it all stems from that experience when I was a kid. Do you remember that orb I saw in my bedroom? I think there's an intelligence that's higher than us, and it goes, "Oh, I'll give him another little bit," because once you start going down the rabbit hole and you start to investigate, and then you're like, why am I seeing this stuff? But I'm seeing this, and then you start to put all the pieces together. It's like you're growing with it. It's
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I'm going to give him this lesson now." I mean, I'm a big believer in you create your reality. Your thoughts are not just like random things. They're actually, you know, you your reality is created by your thought pattern.
Mm.
I'm a big believer in the universe's mind, its consciousness,
So
and that.
the thing.
But it's taken me to that point. So all my experiences, and we'll probably get to that in a bit. When I said about on Teams, that when you actually look into that, start to actually think, why did I experience that?
Mm,
I think you start to. I mean, it's a lot of it is spiritual, not religious. I think we need to split religion from spirituality, because I think a part of our makeup is the spiritual. I think, we're a physical body, we're a mental body, and we're a spiritual body, and it's. I think we're all learning at this point in time. We're all sort of awakening and thinking there's more to this. There's more to the human being than we're led to believe.
yeah.
And a lot of it is awakening to the fact we have got a spiritual body, and if we're not careful, you can pull in these darker entities like you've experienced in your life. Not
Yeah.
saying that you were the protagonist to that. I think your experiences um, came about because of your father,
Mm,
and a lot of mine were due to my upbringing.
yeah. Yeah,
I really do believe that.
I was thinking that, Mark, as you were saying it, and I'm sure other people were on the same road or same track when you were saying that. So our experiences with the unexplained, and just throw that out loosely, could be more positive than if the mindset of the individual was more positive. Do you think we'd receive negative experiences? That's basically what you're saying. If we're going down that road and thinking dark things.
Well, not because if you're in a group, if you're in a family group, and you have one, like if your father was an alcoholic, and when you look at the word alcohol, it comes from al-kul, which is an Arabic word, which it's like the mind spirit.
Right.
So I think when you drink or you take drugs, you can then pull in astral entities, which are around. I believe the ET phenomena, it isn't from out there, from space, because I think space is not what we think. Because we view the world through our five senses, and we can only view the world or have our experiences from our point of view. Like we talked about the spectrum of light. We can only see a small little sliver of spectrum of light, and anything outside of those is called paranormal. Because I think we're arrogant. Humans have got to this point where, yeah, we're the top of the tree. But when you look at the ancient texts, they were far more advanced than us spiritually.
Yeah.
Far more. And then we've got this dogmatic view that, especially academia, we're still, we sort of view the world out of Victorian textbooks.
Yeah.
Whereas we've advanced, and I think the people now are beginning to realise there's more to this than just like our five senses. When you look at the ancient text, they actually believed that there were five elements, and the fifth one was the ether. And that makes you think, because that's our magnetic shield. The ether is our magnetic shield, and we're magnetic beings. We've got electronic signals, to move the fingers, so we're a magnetic being, and the universe is electric.
Yeah.
When you think about it. So then that takes you down a different avenue.
Well, I can see an avenue where there's a few questions here, but shall we do Castle Howard next?
Yeah.
1994. You can lead this wherever you want. I'm just I know our listeners love to hear the stories of the strange and unusual, and you've no shortage of those, Mark. And then we'll just do a few questions. So let's take us back to 1994.
So we were living in Driffield at the time, and we'd and I think I seem to remember it was just on the because I lived in Manchester for a wee while, so I was coming backwards and forwards. But then I'd lived in Driffield trying to find a job, and Mum and Dad had got tickets to the last night of the proms they have in the hall in London, Albert Hall. Well, they did this show up at Castle Howard, and if you've ever been there, it's a massive complex, isn't it? I mean, the guy obviously had a lot of money, but there was this lake, and in the middle of the lake, they set up this the orchestra, and everyone was drinking Pimm's. When you looked around, all you saw was bottles of Pimm's. So everyone was having a good time. And at the end of the show, they put on this massive firework display, and I've never seen anything like it. It was, they obviously spent a lot of money on this, and so we're all, I'm looking up, and my brother was there as well. I'm looking up, and this thing came in, this orb, and it was probably about the height of the fireworks. So they go up 500 foot, I don't know, but it was coming in, and it is as if it said, "Oh, what are they up to now? What are these kids playing at now? With all these explosions." It did a right angle turn, came above our heads, and it was as if it had a quick look. It went back and did a left turn. So I think it was going straight, and then it saw what was going on. But it did I mean, I would have said, oh, it's a satellite at first, looking up, and it was. I don't know how many feet, because it's, you know, when you're looking at distance, it could have been the size of a tennis ball.
Yeah, we're going to say how big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but-
you're thinking it's the height of the fireworks, but it's hard to
Yeah.
determine, isn't it? You know.
But it came in the way it did this turn. It did this like right angle turn. It did, like it never stopped. It went. You know what I mean? It never, like, if we were to do that, you know, the G-force would be amazing. But it came in. It did this right angle turn. Came to have a look, and then went back on it, and it did another left angle turn, and then it went off.
Well, obviously, you
I
saw
looked at
that,
my brother,
Mark.
and I looked at my brother, and I said, he said, yeah. I went, wow. But everything, it was just that it wasn't just one firework. There was a whole heap of fireworks going off. It was, and you're like, wow, you know. I don't know if you've seen the Sydney Harbour Bridge fireworks, but they're amazing.
So just devil's advocate here. What separated that then from something from the display? You know, something that somebody's thrown up into air as a projectile.
Well, because when I was looking up, I'd seen it coming, and it was going a fair clip, and I thought. And it was going faster than a satellite. You know, satellites are quite slow when you see them going over. This thing was coming in, and it just did this right angle turn. It was slightly above the fireworks, and then it went back.
Right. Okay.
And it was like 5 seconds.
Do you think a lot of people saw it, Mark, or do you think it was just you and your brother?
Well, they must have done, because I mean, we're all looking up. We're all
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're looking at the orchestra, which is like straight across the lake, and we're on this bank. We're all, you know, we're sort of, it's a natural amphitheatre.
We've got a question here from Steve Collins, and you can pronounce this. Have you ever had any experiences in the of
Kaikoura,
the Kaikoura lights?
Kaikoura lights, or the Mahau Legendary Hairy Bear? Yeah, I've looked into this, Steve. So the Kaikoura lights, they were a few years ago now. I think they were in the 80s, and they had the plane that actually was used. They used to go from Christchurch to Wellington, so they just followed the coast. And if you look up Kaikoura lights, you'll see it on YouTube. And the guy, there was a pilot, navigator, and I think there was an engineer, because it's one of those old prop planes, and they still got it now. If you go up to Blenheim, just outside Blenheim, there's an army base and an airport, and they got a cafe, and they got this plane sat there. You can actually go in it and walk around and look at all. But that's the plane that was in that. So the Kaikoura, but they're always seeing lights, because I'm right by the sea here.
Right.
So that there's
Karen.
always stuff going on.
And what were these lights? Were they like what we're describing over the North Sea? Were they orange orbs, or do we know?
Yeah, but the reason they knew that this thing was intelligent is because it was darting about.
Yeah.
It, you know, like they do. It wasn't just it was stationary for a bit, but then it would move, you know, and then back again, and it was darting about, and it obviously it was observing them.
And what this seen over a period of time, then, Mark? What you know, because you said 80, so are we talking a decade or just a few months?
There was that sighting, and then like you do get with this phenomenon, you get like this repetitive, like nightly, the sightings, because there was a few people that saw it from Kaikoura, the actual settlement, so they did hang around.
And what general opinion of what they were looking at? Did anybody suggesting Earth lights, or are they talking UFOs? I know your opinion, and they're not from outer space, and I'm on the same page as you, by the way. You'll have heard me say that, but did they think it were alien related?
Well, It's funny you should say that. There's a guy called Bill Guthrie who was a pilot, and this is in the 80s, and he started investigating this phenomena, and he actually did a lot of work around ley lines, and he was a very clever guy, and he I can't remember the French guys, but he was using this French guy's hypothesis that they used the ley lines or the
Right.
magnetic lines. And he actually did a lot of work in that field, and to the point where the CIA got involved, and they came knocking on his door.
Really?
Yeah, and he
Is
felt
this to close
threatened.
him down or for his knowledge?
Well, he actually got offered a job over in the States. He turned them down, but he did that much work, and he could actually got to the point where mathematically he could work out where the lines were, because what he'd done, he'd traced all the sightings, and he's going, hang on a minute, there's a reoccurring pattern here where these things are seen, and he would draw out. This is in the days before Google Earth. Google Earth, you can draw your line, and oh yeah, that all matches up, like the Giza and the Angkor Wat, and and they're all on the same line. So the
Yeah, yeah.
ancients built on the same latitude, and they believe that they were using these ley lines, energy centers, which makes sense if you're a spiritual being, eh? But he was like, he would find out all the sightings and then just draw the lines, and he's going, these things are using the same lines. So he did a lot of work. Bill Guthrie, I think they called him,
Okay.
but it was a Kiwi, and he was an ex-pilot, because he never ever believed in any of this, the UFO phenomenon. And this is before the days of drones and all the rest of it. Because nowadays people go, oh, I think we're getting a bit over it was gas, or balloon, or
Weather balloon, Chinese
there's
lanterns.
far too many.
Hmm.
There's far too many sightings. Yeah, you can say 90% of them are explained, but even if you've got 10% of 1,000 cases, if you took that to a court of law, there's something in that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's too much. It's too easy to go, and be flippant about it. There is something about this phenomena, and now they're starting to look into it, and you're getting academia actually looking into it.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
And you
yeah,
touched on the fact that the ancients built on these lines. Who do you
yeah.
think gave them that knowledge? Because now, as like you just said, we think we're far more advanced. We might be more advanced because we can build phones and cars that you can just press the button and start the car, and we're talking like this. But the actual knowledge, this ancient knowledge, it's still outsmarting and outthinking academia. So who do you think handed the ancient civilizations this knowledge? Where did they get it? I know it can only surmise.
If you get say, if the Russians said, right, we've had enough of the America, and they wiped, maybe the UK, they came in and they said, right, they'll get rid of all their history. They wouldn't want that civilization's, any of its folklore, any of its what it's learned, and it will just erase the whole history of that race, no matter what they are.
Mm.
And I think as we've gone through the ages, I mean, I believe that there was they're talking about it now, the younger dryas. I believe the hunter gatherers were the survivors of a cataclysm.
So I'm not ignoring you, just
You know,
looking at my little dog. So he's up to moaning. Sorry, go on.
yeah, and so the knowledge that if you've got a civilization that's at its pinnacle, like ours is now, say if we got wiped out by a cataclysm, because they do happen,
Yeah, yeah,
that knowledge would be lost.
absolutely, yeah.
And we'd have to start again. We'd be back to the Stone Age.
So basically, what you're saying is because obviously we're just here, we're just like a little flea on the Earth's back. These cataclysms have happened and wiped the slate clean and started again and wiped the slate clean. So you believe that there has been far more
there's
advanced
scientific evidence there that says we've gone through these cycles, these 6,000 year cycles, and I think the last one was 12,000 years ago. The major one, where the ice caps melted. All this evidence there. The trouble is if you have a global cataclysm, you're probably not going deep enough to find the old evidence. If things have been vitrified or petrified, like, the world is quite a nasty place in those conditions, because they know that the sun at one point threw out these CMEs, and the last big one was the Carrington effect, that in those days they just had wireless on telegraph poles, but it did interrupt the day-to-day living of life as we know. But if you have a CME from the sun, it melts the ice caps. What's that going to do to the people who are actually living on the land?
Yeah. And you're going to have to be pretty high up to sort of survive any of that, aren't you? If you did at all. Let's just and Warren Hardcastle just said it were RAF Leeming, the RAF base.
Yeah, that's
Leeming.
the one.
Thanks, Warren. I don't know whether this is so much a question or just an observation. Mark, I've seen a UFO that undulated. I see where Lisa's coming from, because we're on about your garage door and like the Predator cloak. It shot down to the bottom of the street in lightning speed. So
that undulated like the Predator cloak. I've actually seen that myself on certain things, but that's that effect on the glass. Like, I've never seen glass behave like wavy. As if it
did it actually look like it rippled?
Yeah. And the garage door, because the garage door was the first thing I saw. So weird that the actual effect. I thought, and then I saw the glass, and then I saw this thing.
Go on, Matt. Carry on.
And then after all those effects, I just saw this thing, and it looked like a comet with the ball at the front, and then the trailing. But it looked like steam or clouds or whatever it was that was moving so fast and created this contrail, if you like.
And it's funny, Mark, that it were in that particular, at the height of some kind of event at Castle Howard. Do you know what I mean? It's and you've got a lot of eyes fixed to the sky. I wonder if there were OTIMP papers. We'll just throw this question out. Chris James, truth profile, bring up my large VHS camera when I come up to see you with Terry. Can't fake VHS. You're on about. I don't think there's faked with what anybody's doing in our particular team, but I know where you're coming from, Chris, because you'll always get people.
It's funny.
Go on.
It's funny that the VHS. So the VHS is a magnetic tape, and when you look at the old recording systems, because like skeptics now, they're like, but if you showed them a mobile phone and say, hey mate, how does this work? What makes this thing work? Being an electronics guy, we have come so far in such a short period of time. Our electronics, I was in the TTL days, which is transistor logic. And then we stepped into CMOS, which is complementary metal oxide silicon. Then you went to the MOSFET. And this jump in our technology, but everyone just said, oh yeah, it's a it's got cameras on it. That, what's involved in this to make this work with the cameras and everything, not one person they just accept this technology But this technology is wild. When you use your finger, you are part of the circuit because you're the screen. So we're using our own magnetic field
Mm.
on this device. So for those skeptics out there, I think the way I view life, and with all the things I've learned, if you let your consciousness and your thought patterns become, if you think of yourself like a twig going down a stream, if you allow your thought patterns and your beliefs to get you caught up in the weeds, you're not going to get the bigger picture.
Mm.
You know,
You're absolutely spot on. And do you think that's why we've lost touch with this spiritual side and touching what we consider to be the real, because we're so caught up in the trappings of life and TV soaps and video
yeah.
games and
We've been indoctrinated, haven't we? We're like little computers. We've been programmed by our parents in our beliefs, and religion ain't helped. Let's face it. I mean, like, I do believe there was a guy, Jesus, but his name wasn't Jesus for one thing. It was Yeshua. Yeshua bin Joseph. That was his name. And when you look into ancient history, the crucifixion happens all over the world, and it's all the same story. Like, all the Bible is a replication of the stories from Sumer. Because when you look at the Enuma Elish and all those ancient stories, they're copied. The Genesis is a copy of the Enuma Elish.
Yeah.
And we're spoon-fed this crap.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I'm not saying that Jesus wasn't a fella, but the whole, the Catholic Church and all, it's all for money and it's all for control. And what we're seeing now is people are starting to wake up and go, yeah, well, fair enough. What's happened in the past, but we are waking up at an extremely fast rate now, and people are starting to question everything.
Yep.
What are we about? It's like yourself, you've had all those experiences, and no one would be in the chat if they didn't have an experience, would they?
That's what's brilliant. I consider it a safe place because moderators, Alison, Lee, Gemma, they're not cruel. You wouldn't, everybody's allowed an opinion. If they don't agree with Mark, they're allowed to say it. You know what I mean? That's not against the law.
But what's true for me, Paul, is true for me. It's not true for you.
That's exactly.
And we're all fighting for this truth. We're looking for this truth. It's not there.
No.
Because your truth is your own truth.
Absolutely.
But then you might get an experience. Go, well, let's have a think about this. Well, I believed in this, but now this throws the whole thing out the window. And I think because we're all connected. The whole universe is connected.
I'm going to throw a question at you.
What we're sat on is a living being, and we've been pretty nasty to it. If she's a living being, we're all seeing nature spirits or whatever. We see these things out the corner of our peripheral. We're so blinkered, if you like. We're like horses with the blinkers, and now we're removing the blinkers, and we're seeing the world for what it is. The truth, like truth proof. The truth is starting to come out.
And so the living being, then, if we'll call it Mother Earth, the Earth is the living being. Do you think the nature spirits, the green man, the fae, do you think I don't just mean connected, do you think that they are almost rooted into the living being? They're all part of it?
Well, we're talking about our physical world is very dense 3D. When you hear the stories of like these encounters, they get taken aboard a UFO and they're going, we're from the astral world. They actually tell them we're from the astral world. And I believe that, like I said before, with the 9 realms, when you look at the Nordic text, they say the 9 realms, we're on the middle realm. And there's a realm above us, which is the astral. You call it what you like, but there's different realms, and these entities reside in those realms. But then they can bleed through. We can pull them in. If we, you hear stories of there was one guy in America, and he so wanted to have an experience with UFOs. He sat in his garden, meditated, and he tried to connect. As soon as he did that, he started to have experiences.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
our world is all, it's up to us.
In a way, then, what you're saying is, and there'll be a lot of people in chat on exactly the same page with what you're thinking. It's just a thought process away.
Yeah,
You know,
because all we are is we're consciousness, and there is we're so enveloped in our own little, day-to-day lives, if you like, and we're just plodding through this 3D world. But that there is other things, like when you start to perceive the other worlds or the other dimensions. It's quite, if you think of it like the magnetic field of the Earth, we're in this web, and we're all connected to that. We're
yeah.
all a part of this being. We all resonate at 7.83 hertz, which is the Schumann resonance. The Earth is a frequency, and we're all tuned. Birds, plants, we're all tuned to that same frequency, and it's all about frequency and light.
Okay, Mark,
Because
I'm going to throw a question at you.
if you
Go on.
like, if you think of it like a piano scale, light becomes matter, and then it progresses into, you get the from you. If I was to strum this guitar that I've got here, if I strung those strings right up, it wouldn't be a sound, it would become a light, then it would become, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
everything is frequency and sound. Yeah.
I think we're all learning something here tonight, people, aren't we? So it's great having you on. This will just not simplify it, but this will take us back a little bit. Rick Bennett, thanks a lot, Rick, for the support as well. If you had to pick one experience that stands out in your mind, which would it be?
Man. I've had that many. I think it's what woke me up is I alluded to this when we talked yesterday, and I met a German fella in south of France in Antibes, and he was. I think people come into your lives who maybe a higher being, maybe a guide, but they can physically manifest themselves to you. And this fella, he was massive, blonde hair, blue eyed, massive. He could have been a German sentry in the Second World War. And I said to you, he had a little 2CV.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Massive guy. He was about 6'5", 6'6", and he had his tiny little 2CV where the windows, like, they go out, they don't roll down. And he used to stick his face through this little window. Hey, Mark. He took me. On Thebes, it sort of borders onto these hills, and then you've got these woodlands. He took me into the woodland, and we went up this old tower, this old derelict tower, and it took me back. I'm a big believer in reincarnation because I've seen a lot of lifetimes when I was a kid.
Yeah.
After that head injury, I used to have a lot of dreams. I used to have a lot of visions. And he took me to this tower, and the mind-blowing thing about it is it was a previous life of mine where I was in this tower. I was locked in, and my father locked me in this tower because of my sexuality. I was a lady.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in those days, I suppose, and we're talking about the 1700s. And he locked me in that tower. But the vision I had as a kid, I was looking out the window, and a lot of distress.
And this man who took you there, do you think he had knowledge of that? Did he take you there for that purpose? Because he,
yeah. I don't think he was. How do you explain this? it was flesh and blood, but it come into my life to because it sounds so weird, I know, and it sounds out there, but you know, I said about Olympia when I went to Olympia, and I walked through that, you know, the old arena, and I went under the tunnel, and it took me back to that lifetime I had in Olympia in Greece,
Do you see,
and I was naked.
yeah, and do you see? And I'm not. You're probably on the money with that, but you know, immediately when you were talking about that to me, you know what I said. My thoughts were on that, and I thought, are you picking
Yeah,
up
yeah,
on another person's past life, a deceased person,
yeah.
and you don't think that, and you lived it, not me. But you know, I just thought, well, what's the chances of being in Olympia and having a past life there and then being there? Or do you think you're drawn to these places because of those reasons?
I think you are. I think you because I ended up in Egypt, and you know, my life has been one synchronicity after another, and then when you get so many of them, it's like, wow, you know, and I do believe I've been here many, many times.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
we,
yeah,
we've got a question here, and we better not go too deep on this. I knew Zeno would come out with something like this. I did say this to you before, didn't I? You have a read of that. Hi, Mark. I was wondering if you've ever read the Hermetic Principles. Western esoteric texts are the only memory of our original spiritual doctrine. Might be an expanded awareness.
Hermes, thrice born. Yeah, he actually said he was a reincarnation of Thoth, Thoth the
Really?
Atlantean. Yeah,
Okay.
Hermes. Yeah, I've read a lot of those old. You know, when you look at the Greek texts, look at I mean, like the Bible is Greek, isn't it? I mean, and then it's been translated from Greek to English. But the Greeks, before they went to that Christianity, some of their, I mean, like you got Plato, Hermes, and all these philosophers that, when you read their texts, they knew back then what this was about.
And do you think that they were obviously they were learned men, but do you think that they were imparted knowledge as well? They were given knowledge.
I believe they tapped into the we were talking yesterday about the Akashic records. I think there is, like when we talked about a magnetic tape and recording on our vibration on through our voice onto a magnetic tape. Well, I think that is, when you look at the Earth magnetic field, I think all our thoughts and are recorded into this ether, and we can tap into that as knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, as and we can go, you know, any time in our history, we can tap into that.
So, not to simplify it then, but to talk about the unexplained phenomena and the knowledge that we have, that these, we'll call them alien beings, just alien because they're not us, they're alien to what we perceive as normal. They seem to know our thoughts. They seem to know what we're going to do, predict everything. Is that them tapping into that resource then?
Well, this is my belief. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, this is it, but my belief, if we're all connected, we're all in this web. They're connected to us, so they know if they're a spiritual being. Because what if you hurt someone in the karmic law, that you're going to get karma, because there's karma and dharma. So the dharma is the good stuff, the karma is the, you know, because it's a universal law, because you're doing it to yourself. You know, when I think when we do leave these physical vehicles, we have a review, and it's like, it's not a review how we feel. We judge ourselves on how we interact with the universe, and if we've hurt the universe or someone else, we're only hurting ourselves.
And
I think
there's a price to pay. Is that what you, obviously in some way?
Well, no, not a price to pay. I think it's I don't think there's. I mean, we're still this belief in like we're going to hell. Well, hell is a Nordic word. It's not even. Jesus never ever said about hell. He said you're going to end up on the dump heap outside the city of Jerusalem if you don't get your act together. He never said you're going down there and you're going to get all and Satan and all that. That Baal. It was all pre-Christianic beliefs. In this demon thing, because that's the lower realms. That's the darker energy. Because you get the frequencies. If you get a real dense frequency, and they're all, I believe the demons are actually a projected thought. So you've got a lot of hate. Your projected thoughts are in the astral. If like Steven Spielberg, if he creates this monster, it's in the astral.
Yeah.
If you ever done out of body stuff and astral traveling and stuff like that, these beings are out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Going back
thought
to
forms. We're talking thought forms.
yeah. The universe is mind. So that's the Hermetic text that the question there. So Hermes said that the universe is mind. It's all consciousness, and we're all connected. So, and then some of us are just newer souls, just experiencing the physical dimensions, and some of us have been there many, many, many times. And if you're awakening now, you've been there a few times.
Yeah.
It's just that your memory gets washed.
Do we know what this guy's Sean's talking about? Dr. Emon. So has done something similar, worked out the exact routes that UAPs take. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. But there's a lot of it. But there was a French dude, and I can't remember his name. I apologise, but this Guthrie guy.
One second. I'm going to put you on. I've just got to see to this dog. Sorry about that, Mark. So you're on your own.
That's right.
One second.
So this Guthrie guy, who was a pilot, he based a lot of his findings on a French dude, and I can't remember his name. I'll have to look it up. But he did connect the dots, and he's like, these things had taken the same path. So it might have been like 20 years between sightings, and it took a lot of research for him to then connect the dots. But it was like there is a pattern here, and I think if you like Preston Dennett has done a hell of a lot of research, and he alluded to that as well. That these things this phenomena is always around certain lines, like they call them ley lines in the UK.
Sorry about that, Mark. And he's found potatoes. He seems to like them now. And oh God. Anyway, that's a little break in. Do you want to? I'm conscious at time. Are you still okay? Are you okay for time?
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. Yeah.
Aylesbury, 1999. Then we'll go a little bit deeper again. 2000, 1999, 2000.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact date, but it's around that time because we'd gone for a trip down south because we were living in Caton, and I'd gone to see my sister in Aylesbury, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, but it was like in England you get long days, don't you? And you get light up until about 10 o'clock, don't you? So it's in that twilight night, the sky, and I was smoking, gone outside for a smoke, and I always look up at the stars, no matter where I am. I'm always stargazing, and this V-shaped vehicle, if you like, there was 7 orange lights on it. The first one being, and it was in the shape of a triangle, but it wasn't fixed at the back. For what I saw, and I could see that it was solid on where the lights were. but it wasn't solid at the back. It was like a V. Excuse me, and it was quite high up. When I say high up, it was like an aircraft sort of height.
Yeah.
You know, when they're at cruising altitude, so 30,000 foot or something. But it must have been quite big for me, to see the outline of
In the outline of it, yeah.
But the speed was incredible. So when I was looking up, it went from my right to left, and it went at quite a high speed. But that was the shape of
A V.
triangle, but it didn't have a backseat. It was just like a V. It was like
I
a
get it.
flying V,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
had 7 lights on it. So one at the front and then 3 each side.
This isn't in capitals, but we'll just throw it in because Derek Tyler says it makes no difference whether people believe in these things or not. Santa vanishes when we stop believing in him. These things are there regardless of whether a person believes it or not. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. I do believe it. My from my experiences, yeah, and I think that he's right, because if you don't believe in anything, you're not going to experience anything that. I don't think those people are given. I think there's more to it. I think these things come in once you start to think, hey, there's something else to this environment, to this dimension. Then you start to see stuff. I will say about a trick. If you, and this is something you could probably do at Dane's Dyke. If you go on YouTube, you can get like these theta binaural beats, not with the music, but I believe that during the day, your brainwaves are in beta, so they're in they're at a certain frequency.
Yeah.
When you go to sleep, you're in theta. So, and then you're in the dream state. If you put your earphones on and you sit, like Willie Howe would be a real good place. If you sit there and you listen to these theta beats, I think there's one out there called Stuart Wilde Metronome, and it's just like it continue, and in the end the beeps get all mixed up, and you sort of lose track. Like, I'm sure that beeps changed, but it's not. It's your brain synchronizing to the theta beats. So if you sit there and if you slow your breathing down, it'll be interesting to see what you pick up, because you're going from a beta state to a theta state just by sitting there. But if you keep your eyes open, you might perceive,
Is that the general opinion when people are experiencing things when they're actually absorbing these sounds? Yeah.
I think that they go into an altered state. I really do believe they go into an altered state of consciousness.
And just looking here, and I see Deb Shaw's in, Moondog. We've got Zeno, Steve Collin, Steve Stockton, Missing Persons and Mysteries. Please go over to Steve's channel. You'll honestly, the guy's got a voice like it just rasps away. I want Steve back on here as soon as possible. He's absolutely amazing. I don't know if you've listened to his channel, Mark, but he's great. Thanks for the support, Steve. And let's have a look. Lisa's in. This might tie in with what I was going to ask you, actually, because if you don't mind talking about the accident and what at some point, if we've time. Not paranormal, but I remember Mark saying he was run over by a jag. I too was run over by a jag. Coincidence or synchronicity? I don't know whether it is or it isn't, Lisa, but it brings me into the actual
Was
accident.
it black, Lisa? Was it a black jag?
Is that what it was? Black jag?
Yeah.
Just what happened then? But besides, we aren't going into too much detail about the accident. Tell us about that a little bit.
So I was 3, and there was this van that used to come, fruit and veg, but it had sweets with it. And every time, because our window looked down onto the road, and High Wycombe's like San Francisco, it's got great big hills. And so I'm looking down, and this van appeared, and I shot out. before mum and dad could
Catch you.
realise I'm gone, because I could get under the gate. Apparently, my dad said to me later on, he said, I used to get under the gate. I was like a Jack Russell, and I'd gone running down to the van to get my sweets, and this jag took me out, and next thing I remember, I'm out my body looking down on the whole situation. But like I said, it was like a 360 experience. It was like, that was quite weird, but real bright, vivid colours. And I'm looking down, and I'm in my dad's arm, and there was a Triumph. I remember the guy that took us to the hospital, because they couldn't get hold of a ambulance. I don't know whether they're on strike, or I never asked my dad that, but they couldn't get hold of an ambulance. So this guy had taken me to Amersham, which is further than High Wycombe General, because there must have been a strike or something, because they couldn't get me into High Wycombe. So they ended up taking me to Amersham. And the funny thing is because I was looking down on that whole scenario, and went, because they had guinea pigs and rabbits outside for the kids. I was looking down at it, and I was actually told to get back in. It was like,
So
Yeah,
this is just a voice that just came out of the ether.
a voice said, "You need to go back. You need to go back." Because I was enjoying it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
so while your dad's carrying you and you're travelling in the car to the hospital, you're out of body. Are you in the vehicle, or are you above the car? You know,
I'm above the whole scene. I'm above the whole scene. I had the feeling that because I stayed overlooking that, but I had the feeling that I could do whatever I wanted. Go off and.
It's quite incredible, isn't it? Because around the same time that we spoke about that, you told me about it. What, 3-4 months ago, maybe 3 months ago? I spoke to a guy called John Blatt, the American guy, absolutely lovely fella, and he told me about his Bigfoot encounter as a young boy.
Yeah,
he said about 7 years old, and it picked him up, and he says he left his body. He remembers looking down on the scene.
Yeah.
And that's not the same kind of trauma, Mark, but it's trauma of some type,
It's
isn't it?
trauma.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
And so
I think if you're in an experience like a scary, or I've heard people say when they're in a traffic accident, or quite a bad one, that it's as if the body knows it's going into a traumatic experience, so it sort of takes you out of that experience.
it's incredible, isn't it?
So you don't feel the pain, or it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to keep you too long, Mark, because I don't know how you're fixed for
That's
time.
all
But
right.
this is not in capitals. But I think Zeno might be speaking for us all here a little bit. I'm increasingly scared of using my devices now. That is not normal, but you do. There's all sorts of implications. Rolling phone so close to your head, all sorts of things. And I know that's not the inference that you're going with there, Zeno, but
Yeah, but I know what he means, because this thing's always taking. Like, I was talking to one of the lads who I coach about his goalkeeping technique, and the phone was in the bag. What, 10 meters away, maybe more? And I'm saying to him, "Hey, Tommy, when you kick the ball, you need to use this part of your foot, right. When I got home and I'm going through Facebook, it's given me all this goalkeeper skills. And it's obviously picked up that and then when you start talking, and it's like that's real. That's not cool
it's
to do that.
sneaky. And I wonder if this is just my imagination, but I think, although I could have been audible and said it, because you've obviously said this, and then it's picked up on it somehow and it's throwing it out. But sometimes I think I've actually thought of things, and then suddenly you're reading about it. That like little bits of advertising are coming to you.
Yeah, I've had
maybe-
the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
and I
I've had
wonder
the
how many
same
people
thing,
in
mate.
chat have had that. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
bet there's more.
Yeah,
more than,
and that's something you can't explain.
Mm.
When you're thinking about, like, I think it was a holiday, or I've always wanted to go on a cruise, whether that happens or not, and then it'll come up in the feed.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
nuts, isn't it?
that's
It's
weird.
nuts.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean unexplained phenomena, but is that some kind of strange phenomena? Like you just said, our thoughts are going up into the ether. Is it somehow? Well, it is. Something's reading it, isn't it? This
Crazy,
will
isn't
take
it?
us back to ground. What, Mike? What's the New Zealand government's take on these phenomena?
I think all governments try to stop because the governments are about control, aren't they? And
Mm.
if you get, to be fair, it's not as bad as the English government with that control. Like here, you don't really get involved in any of that. It's like, and to be fair, I wouldn't know, to be honest. I'd something that I don't really follow or
No.
take any notice of because they're all idiots, aren't they? They're psychopaths.
Have
You
you
know?
have you got time for another question?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because John Paul Body. I'm with Mark. I think we were advanced at an earlier time, but in a different way, more spiritual with the abilities like telepathy, also having a closer bonds with other beings. Okay, John. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
And I think you synchronize. I think you synchronize with
Thank you, Rick.
like if we're all connected. I think there's a
Thank
point
you.
to where we're all, we can synchronize with each other, and I believe in those days that they could. I mean, we got a voice box, and our vibration is our energy, but I think they could connect with each other, especially the pre-dynastic Egyptians, like the people of Kem, because they had no hieroglyphics. If you look at any ancient, real ancient buildings, they got no hieroglyphics, like the Serapeum, or if you look at the really ancient stuff in Egypt, they had no hieroglyphics.
There
And their
wasn't.
building techniques we can even replicate their building techniques now.
No.
They're massive. I mean, when you look at Baalbek and that triathlon, that the stones in there, they were huge. Like we're talking about 500-ton blocks. We can replicate that now, mate.
No. And can you imagine with the tools that we perceived they had? They've got to have had.
Academia says, "Oh, they made him with copper chisels, and then they were banging these little stones." But have you seen the workmanship in there?
Mm.
And they said they had thousands of people. They just threw bodies at it, and they all had these little stones. I mean, you'd have mass walkouts, wouldn't you? Like,
Well,
no, we've had enough of this. Like 12 hours banging this little stone to create those beautiful obelisks.
absolutely. And Miss Tree of Life. Hi, Paul and Mark. Do you ever feel the phenomena, whatever it may be or may not be, is having a laugh at our expense by scaring and confusing the heck out of us? It's a double-edged sword, I suppose. Some people, it's a euphoric experience, and for others,
I don't think they have emotion like that. I mean, they say only love is real, so anything else. But I think the way they look at us is the way we look at a cat, or like a cat behaving. Oh my God, it's tipping over all this stuff. They just look as kids, as real young babies. Oh, they're playing with matches again. That's how they view us, and they're trying to help. They're here to help.
So
And I think any of the darker experiences in.
So, Mark, who do you think is the original creator? Do we just add another knot? I'm not sure we'd ever know that, Dragonborn, but Mark might have a better idea.
If you look at source, if you look at, say, the Godhead, or the, if you look at all the ancient stuff, they'd look at the Godhead, the nomad, and everything comes from source, but everything is a gift from source. And I think people are brought in, like Tesla. He was brought in to just accelerate the evolution of the Us humans, yeah.
I'm not sure we're going to have time to get through all of these questions tonight, and I'll just throw this one out at you, Mark. Scotch Miss, could Mark give examples? And you be as brief as you like, Mark. I don't mean it in a bad way, Scotch, but I
That's
realise
all right.
it's real early in Mark's world, and he might have other things to get on with. Examples of synchronicity which he has experienced.
There's been so many cases. It's been so many, and I think they come in like if you get to a point, like especially in my career, there's been people come into my life to experience a certain, in because I travelled so much, you find that the synchronicities happen. If you're just in one area for all your life, you're not going to get many. But once you start travelling, you start to see the synchronicities more. You start to, and it's like, wow, I've always wanted to learn about that.
Yeah.
And especially in electronics.
Just one more thing then, because Jane's just thrown this out. I don't think we've missed out here. Have I missed something? What happened to the German and the tower? You know, the blonde-haired guy in the little car.
Yeah. Well,
did we
we'd
conclude
gone from
that one?
Antibes. Yeah, we've gone from Antibes, and we've got a job in just outside Toulon, a place called Saint-Mondrian, and we're working on the super yachts in IMS, International Marine Services. So we kept in touch. Only there's a few more stories that around that area, but no. But I've found people. There is a weird story in Egypt. We're in Port Said, but that's for another time, I think.
Excellent.
That was
And I
super
think
weird.
so on that note, I'm
Yeah.
going to just show that what Alison's put. So thanks, Alison. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Gemma. Thank everybody in chat, because I think we've been up to, over 250 people. Really appreciate it. And will you come back, Mark, and just share a little
Thank you
bit
very
more?
much, Paul.
No, thank
Thanks
you.
very much, mate. Like I said, at any time, I've had that many weird experiences, and that. I mean, people might think I'm absolutely loopy as hell, but hey,
I think you're
we all
in
are,
good
aren't we?
company on here, and it's absolutely great to have you here. And Matthew Cook, Scotch Mists, Derek Tyler, Jane Louise, Draco, and Mark especially. Thank you very much, and I'm going to say good night.
Thank you.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up, like a headlight, but there was nobody there.
Oh.